Good afternoon, this is Brian. Today is Sunday, May 2nd, 2021. And today, here in the Cleveland National Forest, Santa Ana Mountains, I want to present an episode of Spotlight on Trees. Today's episode focuses on the beautiful velvet, or also known as Arizona ash. And this is Fraxinus velutina. So today's video, I am along the Los Alamos Truck Trail in Los Alamos Canyon, Cleveland National Forest, Santa Ana Mountains. We're about an elevation of 1,400 feet roughly above sea level. And we are in Los Alamos Canyon, near where the drainage, the creek runs through, the ephemeral stream. So, an ephemeral stream like this would be a good place to find Fraxinus velutina. Again, it's known as the velvet ash, also known as Arizona ash. Now, this is a tree I don't come across too much in the wild, because I don't really hike along a lot of streams in super lower elevations. So here we are. The Arizona ash, or velvet ash, is a member of the olive family, the Oleaceae, and is featured with this gray furrowed bark on older specimens. It's typically not an extremely large tree. These are actually pretty decent sized for this area, but they have been known to exceed 50 feet in height. And I've seen much larger specimens planted before, as it is a tree that is cultivated as a shade and fall color tree. So what that means is that in fall, these leaves turn golden, beautiful shades of yellow. So these trees are cultivated for their fall color and shade. So Fraxinus velutina, the name velutina comes from the pubescence of the younger foliage. There's a little light hairiness at the bottom of these leaves here. So that's where velutina comes from, for velvet. Velvet. So there's a little velvety fuzz, especially on the younger foliage. The older foliage, it seems to retain some of it, but it's usually more noticeable on the younger foliage. So like most members of the genus Fraxinus, the ashes, there are a couple of key things about the genus Fraxinus. A lot of times the bark is furrowed. The trees generally have pretty hard wood. Fraxinus species are often used for baseball bats. And the leaves are mostly, there's a species, or at least one species, maybe two, that has simple leaves, but you're generally looking at compound leaves, pinnately compound. In other words, they're pinnate once. So you can see here is the rachis, R-A-C-H-I-S, which is the leaf stalk, and then you got the leaflets, which are generally in odd numbers on ashes. They usually have a terminal leaflet, and then they have other leaflets opposite each other. Usually about 5 to 7 leaflets is pretty common on Fraxinus velutina. And another thing is their leaf arrangement is opposite. As you can see here on the twig, the leaves are opposite each other. The twigs are opposite each other. You can see right here, these twigs right here are opposite each other. And so are the leaves. That's very common in the genus Fraxinus. So like I said, Fraxinus velutina tends to be a smaller, sometimes medium-sized tree that tends to grow along streams and creeks, even ephemeral water courses. Around here, velvet ash, Arizona ash, is pretty common. And again, in this area, it's mostly a smaller, shrubbier form. Again, we got some here of these velvet ashes. Small statured trees, nice shade trees, and then once they lose their leaves in fall, If it's a chillier winter day, you'll get some sun because the trees are leafless. So again, it's a winter deciduous tree. Again, golden yellow fall color. And another thing to note about the tree is that the trees are dioecious. And what I mean by dioecious, which literally means two homes in Greek, di and eicious, comes from di for two, and eicious comes from oikos, which is household or home in Greek. Dioecious means two different homes for the male and the female flowers. So male flowers are on separate trees from female flowers. Pollinating trees separate from seed trees, in other words. So this right here is a male tree. Early on in the spring, they have these little greenish flowers on them, and you can still kind of see them. These are what the male flowers look like, right here. That's the male flower of Fraxinus velutina, right there. That little bit right there. So usually, before the trees are fully leafed out, you'll start seeing them put out these little greenish flower clusters. And then that's on the male tree. And then we have a female tree right here that's going into seed. Will I get close enough to these seeds? I might have to go to another specimen. Looks like I might be able to. This is a female tree. And the female flowers right now, you won't see them. You see the evidence that they were there because they're developing seeds on them. So the female flowers are usually in clusters like that, like these, the seeds, but they're all kind of stringy. They're kind of stringy. They're not as dense and puffy as the male flowers. And the female flowers, if pollinated correctly, become these seeds. These are called samaras. There's a seed here, where it connected to the twig. There's a seed, and then the wing extends out from it. And then sometimes the seeds are kind of, the seed keys, the samaras are kind of narrow. So you can see here, they will ripen towards summer and fall, and they will disseminate. See right here, actually you can see some of them just starting to develop. These little things right here, kind of hard to see on camera. I'm trying to angle it so you can see it better. Okay, see this little thing sticking up here where my finger is touching? That's what the seeds look like when they first, just after they were fertilized and just started developing. And eventually the seeds will turn a little more brownish, and it'll be unleashed into the wind. So those type of flowers, in human terms, they're not quote-unquote showy flowers. So you're probably not going to get a lot of insects over to pollinate them. So what does that mean? It means that these plants are wind pollinated. So the breeze blowing up the canyon might have taken the pollen off of this tree, blew it over, and it landed on the stigmas of these female trees here. That's a male, female. That's a male tree. That's a female tree. So, and then apparently the seeds germinate like crazy, because I remember stepping over here. I'm going to do it very carefully again, because I saw these are what the seedlings look like. Seedlings are, they start off with single leaves. They don't start off right away with pinnately compound leaves. It takes a while before they develop that. So you can see here, the seedlings have these very narrow oval shaped cotyledons, and they're eudicots, so you're going to have two cotyledons per seedling, and in its first true leaf starting to poke out. So that's what a seedling Fraxinus velutina looks like. So let's go look at some more nice little specimens around here. This one, I don't know if this one's mature enough yet to flower or fruit, so I'm not sure. But here we are. Again, this one has pubescence on its twigs too. That's another name for the reason velutina. Another reason for the name velutina. This one, don't think this one's mature enough, so I'm not sure if this is a male or female. But here's a female Fraxinus velutina right here. Again, these seed keys are even more fully developed than the previous tree I showed you. So these seed keys are getting close to their full size already. So you can tell this is a female tree. So lucky I finally came to this area. I came to this area last year when I first saw these ash trees. I gotta tell you, coming to this canyon has been quite an awesome experience. I know I've shot video in this canyon before. I did a video last July. And it wasn't a spotlight video, it was more of just one of my ramblings videos, just pointing out all the ash trees down here. This is the same area. I figured when I wanted to do a spotlight video, I would do it. I wanted to do it in a place where there were bigger trees, but since this area is very representative of its natural habitat, I figured, you know what? Don't knock the place. Beautiful place. So there is at least one cultivar, which is a cultivated variety in gardening terms, called Modesto. Have you ever heard of a Modesto ash? That's the tree that you'll be more likely to find in nurseries, which is a cultivated variety of Fraxinus velutina. That one's known for its handsome street tree, neatly rounded street tree form, and of course its brilliant yellow autumn colors. That comes from Fraxinus velutina, none other than Fraxinus velutina. Those are the trees that are more likely to get larger, especially ones in cultivation tend to be larger. But a good place to see some large velvet ashes is actually high up in the, kind of high up. It's 6,100 feet in the San Gabriel Mountains. If you park at Jackson Lake picnic area, right by where the little lake is, off Big Pines Highway, near Wrightwood, there are some much larger specimens of this tree planted on the parking area in a little island in a parking lot. They're these trees, only much larger, probably about 40, 50 feet tall, much closer to how they can get. But in the wild, I have yet to see anything quite that large. So this tree is a very common staple in the Southwest. So I know I've talked a lot about its form, its habits, but this tree is a very much big symbol of the Southwest, and it includes here in California, Southern California. You'll see lots of this if you're going up along the Kern River. You'll see lots and lots of this, possibly mixed with Fraxinus latifolia, the Oregon ash potentially, which might also be found here in Southern California, but I've yet to come across anything I could consider as Fraxinus latifolia. But Arizona, I believe New Mexico, a lot of the southwestern states, these trees, one thing you will see about these trees, they are quite cold tolerant, but very important factor being in the Southwest, they are very heat tolerant. You will find these sometimes along near desert, and sometimes I think even in desert stream sides, where, you know, areas where temperatures get up to 110, 112 during the summertime, sometimes even hotter. These trees will take it on like a pro. This area is probably susceptible to high temperatures near 100 degrees. This is a pretty warm canyon. I've been here in July, and it was only in the 80s when I went. But it can get very hot in this canyon. You've got canyon walls on each side, so it kind of precludes a lot of strong wind blowing through here, even though it's a nice breeze right now. I just contradicted myself, apparently. But it can get quite still in these canyons, and the heat gets trapped in these canyons. But then at nighttime, I'm pretty sure you get very, very decent cold air drainage. So these trees are quite heat tolerant, and they're definitely quite cold tolerant. Now, considering the morphology of this tree, any viewers, anybody from back east, see anything familiar about Fraxinus velutina? I mean, it doesn't grow wild in Pennsylvania or New York, but does anybody notice anything familiar about this tree? I'm going to go back up to one of these trees really quickly, one of the more mature trees, because most of your ash trees back east are, well, trees as opposed to shrubs. So let's see if I can get across here. It's a different way I went in. So, especially looking at the bark of these trees. Go back and look at that furrowed bark. Let's see here. Does that bark look similar? Leaf shape looks similar? Well, I would know. I lived back east in New Jersey for 8 years. I lived in New Jersey during most of my 20s, from 22 to age 30. So I lived in New Jersey during my 20s. This tree, while shape-wise, especially down here where it's kind of, you know, small, stunted, maybe the shape of it, the overall shape of it, but the bark and the leaves kind of remind me of a species of ash back east. And that would be Fraxinus pennsylvanica, the green ash. So why am I talking about a tree that doesn't even grow here? Why am I talking about a tree that I used to see in New Jersey and you'll see in the northeastern United States? Well, velvet or Arizona ash is a very close relative of Fraxinus pennsylvanica. In fact, some botanists have labeled it as Fraxinus pennsylvanica subspecies velutina. Some people have listed this as a subspecies of green ash. So they're very closely related. They do have a lot of similar features. The leaf color and the leaf shape and the medium to dark gray furrowed bark, kind of what gives off the similar vibe. And Fraxinus pennsylvanica usually gets to be a little bit bigger. It's a little bit bigger. It's not an extremely large tree. It's definitely not as big as Fraxinus americana, the white ash, which I used to see a lot back east. But it's generally larger than our Fraxinus velutinas. But they're closely related. So some people from back east might see some familiarities with these trees. The bark's very similar, and the leaves are very similar. So there you have it. People from back east who see this and see a lot of familiarity in it, it's because they're closely related. So, what about the elevational range of velvet ash? Well, normally you find it below 5,000 feet in elevation. Like I said, the ones I saw planted by Jackson Lake in the Angeles National Forest near Wrightwood, they're at an elevation of 6,130, 6,140 feet above sea level, and they're doing just fine. But you'll typically find these below 5,000 or 5,500 feet, guessing not exclusively. But again, they like streams. They love growing near streams. That's why they're here. Like that one right there. So they're definitely a riparian species. Even if it looks dry during the summertime, they probably will take root wherever there's still some underground water. So there you have it. Fraxinus velutina, the beautiful Arizona ash, or velvet ash. That was a spotlight on trees. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this informative.